want someone to be the absolute best version of themselves. And so as a mentor, you look and you really don't see yourself as a mentor. In fact, when we first started talking about this, I thought, wow, when have I ever been a mentor? And then as we began to really think about it, I thought, oh, I guess so. Because
I was going to say, you've always been a mentor.
Well, but I never, honest to goodness, I never saw myself like that. I just thought we were working together and it's like, hey, and then of course I have something to say. But if it's going to help you or make you better or encourage you, if this is going to make you into a better person, why wouldn't I say it?
Welcome back to the More and Better podcast. It is New Year. We are back. My name is Winter, and I'm joined, as always, with Joe.
Hello.
And we have a special guest kicking off this brand new year. We got Kellie Patterson here with us.
Hello, everyone.
So we have Kellie here. She is someone that I have known, Joe, literally my entire life, or she's known me my entire life.
What a relationship.
Honestly.
It's been a ride.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't remember not knowing her. But I'm so excited that she's here with us as we kick off this brand new year for 2024. How wild. Brand new year.
It.
Actually, I'm so glad we're here. Finally.
New year, new us.
New year, new me.
I'm ready.
But I'm so glad that you're here. Kellie actually has done so many things throughout her life. Noteworthy, really being a teacher, being in ministry. She loves kids. She loves imparting wisdom into others. And so I'm so thankful that you're here, going to hang out with us.
I'm loving every minute already. It's so good to be with both of you, my new friend and
yes,
my
ma'am.
She's going to have so much just wisdom through the knowledge of the experience that she's had throughout her life. But really just an intentionality and a sweetness that I'm so happy that you're here hanging out with us. But we're really going to be talking this year as we kick off, just how do we start in our intentional years? How do we have goals? What are the things that we do to kind of kick off our year? But before we get into that, let's talk a little bit about what are maybe even some goals that you all have had for this past year, 2023.
I remember starting 2023, and my big goal for the year was to be more content. Just to be content with where God had me, be content with what I was doing. I was not working in ministry at the time. I was working at the hospital at the beginning of the year. And so I just wanted to go through that season of life being very content that God was providing for me, that I got to still make it to church and serve in church and just be in that season where I was at. And then I got placed in ministry and God changed everything. And I think ironically enough, it was easier maintaining that goal at the beginning of the year than it has been finishing off 2023, coming into 2024. I think some part of that is just challenges of life, whether that's, family or health or circumstance. But I think reflecting back on 2023, a big part of that was just the difference of going from a 9-to-5 day job when my heart was in ministry to actually stepping into something God had called me to, and something that never really turns off now is just a whole different world. And so that's been kind of different to navigate, like the balancing act of wanting to get better, wanting to move forward, wanting to do more, see more and better disciples get made, but also allowing time to pause and reflect and celebrate and be content has been trickier than I thought it would be.
I love that. For me, before the year began, the Lord gave me a word. He said, grateful. I thought, piece of cake, I can do this. No, it was not.
Right.
It was not. It's easy to be grateful whenever your daughter moves back home from, living 3 hours away and now she's down the street. Love that. But, whenever you have these things and life happens, it's a lot more difficult to be grateful. We've had lots of big shifts, but my mom passed. And you know what? I really believe with all of my heart, the Lord just used that I had been practicing that grateful. And so all through that part, I was able to, of course, grieve like crazy, but I saw the grateful. It's like it was highlighted to me. And I think if I hadn't been looking for it, I would have never seen it. Yeah. So anyway.
Do you typically every year have like a word?
I like to have a word. I don't know what it is for, coming, but it's coming and I know.
Yeah. Sometimes that's how it is. Sometimes it may be a little bit into the year until you're like, till God places that.
You really need to, and you need to be really careful because that's something that is going to stick with you for the whole thing. So I know soon. Yeah. I'm not worried.
Joe, are you someone that normally has like intentions or goals or a word?
I've never been a word person, but I've definitely tried to take advantage, I guess, of the season, the new year, new me mentality.
Yes.
We were even talking to some of our students here at YTH the other week about how it can be so easy getting older, especially we were talking with our seniors who are about to graduate, to just kind of fall into, oh, the date's just changing kind of thing. And just, it's nothing special. And we were even advising them something that I like to do is like, no, lean in more to that mentality. Like, man, yes, the date's changing. But it's more so about my mindset changing, and it's more so about me being more intentional with my goals and who I want to be this year. And I think even as I've been making goals these last couple of years, I think who I want to be this year has been at the forefront, and then the actions come after that.
I do too.
It's like, what do I have to do to be that person rather than just what do I want to do?
Love that. That's awesome. Well, typically I am one who also tries to set a word through prayer, but really have it kind of mark just like a through line. I like how you even said, like, you can kind of see it. You could see grateful touches all throughout, or the Lord speaking that back to you. And if I'm being honest, I do not remember what my word was for this year or for this past year in 2023. I know you all were like, oh, I could see this, or God shifted it. Mm-hmm. For me, I think so much has come at me in 2023.
Yeah.
That honestly, it's not that I lost sight of like what God spoke to me. I think it's just shifted countless times that I can look back and be like, oh yes, this is what it was. My faith has not wavered, that's for sure. But I've even heard some people even say like, man, 2023 kind of felt like a distraction.
And I think that our words come in seasons.
Yeah.
It's not so much come, January, that's when it starts. It's whatever season you're personally in, and God just tailors things so well to what's happening and what's coming. And so you could have 3 or 4 words before the end of end of this new year.
Yeah.
But that's not something that I think is wrong. I think that it's just that He knows us so well. Yeah. And that He tailors things just for exactly that moment where we are going and the moment that we're in.
Yeah. I know, as much as like on one side of me, I could say, man, I missed it in 2023 of the goals or the word per se. But at the same time, there's so much grace that I feel that I'm like, at the same time, I look back at the whole 2023 and I was like, man, I can see how God was preparing me for every single moment and how God has been faithful and how maybe it was even just faith. Like my faith hasn't been wavered or shaken all through the processes of grief that I also experienced this year.
Good.
But not even, and kind of like you too, it wasn't just a grief of a moment. It was a prolonged process. And so you never know what to expect in life, and life just throws you curveballs, but trusting God in the process is part of it.
Right. He already knew it was going to happen. Yeah. He's that author. That's the finisher. Yeah. And so from the beginning to the end, He knows what's coming at you. So why wouldn't He give you words, different words?
Yeah. I like how you said that, kind of like maybe God gives you things all throughout different times and for seasons. Mm-hmm. But I also agree, Joe, that at the beginning, or maybe it's the end of one year as you start, like you turn the next page, it can be sometimes in our mind, oh, it's just turning a page. It's just the date changing. But it also, you're right, it's an intention. It's going,
absolutely.
Okay, like I want to lean in. Like I want to end well in this one season, knowing that practically this season is changing. Mm-hmm. God, what do you have for me? Asking.
Right. I think it's even just naturally kind of wired in us, the need to pause and reflect and look back, not to, jump too deep or stretch too far, but
we like deep.
even in the creation account in Genesis, God creates for 6 days and rests on the seventh, and throughout the process, it tells us God pauses and says that his creation's good. He sees it, he looks upon it, he reflects it and sees that it's good. And so if we are created in his image, then maybe we're not designed so much to go. Maybe we are designed to have these seasons where we're just kind of naturally bent towards reflection and naturally bent towards stopping and looking and saying, no, this has been good. Even in the midst of difficulty, it seems like a reoccurring theme that even in the midst of challenges and difficulty and kind of the unexpected, even as followers of Jesus, that's a unique perspective that we even get, not only around the new year, but just in every season, that even though things are not going at all how we expected, God is the same yesterday, today, and forevermore. And so even though I'm facing challenges that I never thought in a million years would come my way, I also have God on my side who is unchanging and who is still fighting my battles. And I can be still and just know he's God.
Yes, you can.
It's so true. I feel like I like how you said that there's like certain times of reflection, and that's like in our faith walks. Like that's why we have moments. That's why we do things like communion, to sit back and you look and reflect and you almost just breathe, like taking in a deep breath to see, okay, here's like how God has been faithful and the promises of his faithfulness to come. And I love the idea of setting aside time, at least for me, in my own prayer walks, kind of like how do you set and create those goals for moving forward? For me, it's all about being intentional of reflecting on what's happened, but also where, I don't know, that I just feel like God's speaking to me, like where I'm also going, like, and what does that faithfulness look like? Do you all, for your own kind of journey, you talked about like sometimes God just gives you a word, or you start being intentional, but like what are maybe even some prayers or things that you're asking in your prayer time or when creating and setting your goals?
So what I'm hearing you ask me is, what are the things that I ask God whenever I'm listening and looking? I like that. Well, I like that we can be still and we're going to evaluate. And where I see something that is lacking, for me, last year, I really genuinely was lacking gratefulness. I'm super spoiled. I've been spoiled by my Lord. I've been spoiled by my family, and they're just so good to me. And I just had to step back. That was something that I was lacking. So when you look at and you evaluate, okay, here's where I am. And I think that's so important to do on a regular basis, but especially at the very beginning of the year. You look and you see, what am I lacking? And then sometimes you notice, like in someone that maybe you admire, I want to be like that. That's something that I want to see. So I take it to the Word and I take it to the Lord. I always take it to the Lord. And whenever I do, that's whenever He begins to show me these different things and plans. You know, I think it's just a matter of He lights my path. He lights my path with the words, and He lights my path with people around me and situations. And a lot of times when we go through those things that are so challenging, and it's kind of like, they used to call it trial by fire. When you're in the fire, not my prettiest comes out. In fact, some really ugly things come out whenever the fire is applied. And those are the things that I have to step back and say, okay, Lord, what are we doing with that?
I think for me lately, something that's been super practical in my prayer time, Pastor Darren even kind of talked about it in our own staff prayer time together, is just asking God, okay, today, who do you want me to be? What do you want me to say? What do you want me to do? And that on a regular basis has started to transform my prayer life and kind of transformed how I approach each day, how I approach people, how I approach myself, especially the who do you want me to be? Because it's a lot easier for me to give grace to others than myself. And so I think that even with making goals has been something that's really been kind of a true north for me lately. And it's just takes a few minutes. I mean, there's nothing super profound to it other than just asking those questions.
You know what I think for both of us, or both of you and myself included, what a huge part of that component is just being in time with prayer.
Oh, it's so important.
Like being in time.
I can't go to Walmart without prayer. Literally.
Yeah.
Literally.
But that, to me, like that's such a, like, even when you think about goals, it's like, oh, I don't need to pray about my goals. Of course you do.
Right.
Of course you need to pray like, God,
Absolutely.
what do you want me to be? What
Yeah.
do you want me to do? And on top of that, another thing that really has been transformative in my prayer is being intentional with my listening time. I'm so busy all the time. Like I have to be doing something at all times, that even in my prayer time, I catch myself, let me just do all these things. Let me make all these steps. Let me make all these lists. But being intentional with setting aside that time. God, what are you saying?
Yes.
Let me listening. Who do you want me to be? What do you want me to do?
Yeah.
How should I be acting? And you're right. Like that's
Yes.
where he drops a lot of those words.
It just does. It's like a download.
Yeah.
It
Right.
really is. Something that I do for my quiet time. I live in a rural area, and so I'm walking by myself. I really believe with all my heart my neighbors think I'm crazy, because sometimes whenever I pray, I cry. So they must think, there's no telling what they think. And then I sing. But what I will do, I'm going to have my time before I even get going. I'll say, okay, I'm going to wait till this stop sign, and I'm not going to do anything but worship and be still. And then when I get to this stop sign, then if the Lord's still in the middle of talking, I'm going to hush and listen. But if not, then I'll start my list of, okay, Lord, thank you for speaking. Now I'm heading. But I wouldn't, because that kind of organizes what my prayer time is going to be for the rest of the walk. I walk a really long way. I got a lot of things to say. Yeah.
I love that. I love being that intentional.
Yeah.
When I think of goals, it just seems like
have
it's
to.
all, not just in our prayer time, but also with our goals of just being intentional with those. I think that's really cool. Something that we talk about, I don't know, have you ever heard of the term SMART goals?
Yes.
You're
We
familiar with
love
that?
SMART goals around here.
I love SMART goals. No, they're good because they help dissect what you're wanting to do, and they keep your mind in order.
Yeah. So, Joe, kind of tell us a little bit, because that for us, and like on our church staff, we talk about SMART goals pretty frequently, not just in our prayer life, but just in our practical, in our hands, our tasks that we do.
Yeah. I remember hearing SMART goals for the first time when I started working here, and I was like, oh, yeah, goals that aren't dumb. Like, duh.
Because who wouldn't want that?
I will make good choices. But SMART goals, SMART is an acronym for specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time-based. And so this is just an easy kind of guide when we're making our goals to be able to plug in our goals to see, is this goal I'm making specific? Can I measure the outcome of this goal? Is this goal actually achievable? Is this goal actually realistic? And can I put a time stamp on this goal? And that just helps. I don't know, even for me, it helps prioritize my goals. Because I'm like, okay, what are the big ones that I can actually achieve on a timely basis? And what are some that maybe can be put on the shelf for now?
Yeah, there may be tiers. You may have some time goals that it's like, or like grateful. You want to be grateful. Well, that's not just in 1 week you're going to achieve this.
No, heavens no.
This is an ongoing type
it's a
of goal.
process.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there are some of those, but then there are some goals. Okay, what could I achieve in 6 weeks? Okay, maybe my goal for the year is I want to read the entire Bible. Well, let's not just say, let's read the whole Bible in 1 year. Let's put a plan behind it.
Right.
And okay, is my goal to have it done by December 31st? What does that time frame look like that? And then there's some that are maybe a 5-year goal.
Right.
Definitely. I love it.
Do you have any SMART goals for
SMART goal?
2024?
So I do have a couple of, I guess, SMART goals. I never used to be like goal oriented of like writing them down. That's kind of been like a newer transition in
Love
my
my
life.
paper.
You're like, yes, write down more.
Write down your words.
Probably a few years ago when I really, I don't know, was more intentional with what my word for the year was and maybe some goals of writing them clearly. There's scripture that even talks about that, like write your prayers like make them be known.
Yes.
And make them be clear. And so taking that even into what my goals have been, of being like, and just even prayer requests, like, God, here's what I'm believing for, and this is how I want to see you move in the next year. So I have like kind of ongoing list in my own notebook, and it's not even like a prayer journal. It's literally like where my goals are, where I see my normal day-to-day work. So some of my goals that I have for this next year is not only do I want to read through the whole Bible, but I'm being intentional. And my mentor in my life, actually, she gave me this idea. It's very inspired by a time I had with her, Shelly Johnson. Give her a shout out here.
Love my Shelly.
And she's someone that can just help, kind of what you said earlier. I want to be like you. Like, I want this. Like, I want to be more of that. She's one of those people in my life. And she had talked about sometimes when she's reading the word, she can be so busy, kind of like how I am. Especially when you're in ministry, if you're a youth leader, small group leader, whatever, a lot of times when you're reading, you're like, oh, this is perfect for so-and-so. I had this thought yesterday in my prayer time. I'm sending my mom what I'm reading my prayer time. That's great. She received a word, but also, God, what were you speaking to me?
Right.
So it's hard for me to switch off my brain.
Right.
And so my goal for this year is I got a journal, and I'm going to be writing out the characteristics of God. So when I'm reading scriptures, okay, oh, God, that's your character.
Yeah.
Let me write out that scripture, and that's what I'm journaling throughout this whole year.
That's awesome.
I love that.
So I have a time for it, it's scheduled. It's specific, so anything that's a characteristic. I do think it's achievable during my prayer and reading time.
Yeah.
And it feels really like I'm excited, and it's applicable to my life. It's an area where I have identified in my own prayer time I need to slow down and have it stop being so others focused and be more, okay, God, what are you speaking specifically for me? So that's awesome. It's more of a spiritual goal. And then another, I don't know if I would consider it a SMART goal, but maybe it's more of a relationship goal in my personal life, is that I'm going to try to stop making so many assumptions about everyone. That's a huge goal.
That's a good one to have.
Not assuming, I guess, would be my word for this year. Whether that's in my sense of leadership or with my family or by friendships with people. This may be a shock to some people. I think I know a lot. There's like a sound bite going right now. And, obviously we have to all humble ourselves. I don't know everything. And so I'm going to be really intentional and pausing and seeking clarity from other people.
I love that. For me, I think part of my SMART goal this year, I had over 2023, I developed a little bit of tummy issue. And so I've decided I don't know enough about my own nutrition and the way things work in my tummy. And so what I've decided to do is I'm going to totally just immerse myself in how to be healthy in the foods that I eat. I'm already a little bit, my family will tell you I'm a real weirdo when it comes to my eating, but I want to be intentional because I want to be that girl that knows, okay, if you're having this kind of an allergy, you need ginger or milk. I don't know. I don't know yet. Yeah. But that's something that, because I want to be able to not only help myself, but that I know that food can actually be a part. So one of my goals this year is to learn about the foods and the nutrition for like the digestive system is where I'm going first. But who knows? This thing could develop into something giant later on.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll be catching people in the lobby.
Hey,
I
you need
talk
this.
To you. I see your yellow fingernails. Come here, dude. So, anyway.
I love that too, because I love how we can kind of even categorize some of our goals that we're wanting for the year. I was even talking to somebody the other day who categorized like spiritual goals, mental goals, physical goals. And it blew my mind. I was like, I've never thought to give them their own categories like that. I've just been like, here's my top 3, let's go. And so I just love that. That's like, no, this is something I just want to learn more about and be on top of and help me and help others. And that's been, it sounds so simple, but something that's just rocked my world. It's just like, man, like I can have my prime fitness goals. I can have my spiritual goals and just, personal goals. And it's just, I don't know. I'm kind of soaking in like this new lens, even being my first year starting off the year making SMART goals, of just being like, this is kind of awesome.
Yeah. I think whether you're a student in, high school, college, or you're a brand new mom, like having those little SMART goals, like, hey, in our household, here's what we want to achieve.
Yes.
Or in my work ethic, here's what I'm trying to achieve. I think that's also really important. It doesn't always have to be these profound spiritual goals.
Right.
And you can always pivot too, because when you come up with a plan, you have an idea in your head, but as you get knowledge and you gain that, you're going to need to say, okay, I've got a better way now. And your plan can change, and that's okay too. It's totally fluid.
Yeah. Right. And then when you're having that written down, you're like, oh, yeah, here's where I pivoted.
Yes.
Here's how I got better through this.
Yes.
Or this was not working for me, and so we had to pivot.
Right.
Because sometimes that happens too.
Yeah.
I think another one for me is that really setting aside this year to be a time of creating just new rhythms within my life. I think my life has just been such a roller coaster and chaos the last several years of nothing consistent. And so I'm like, okay, how can we create where I can have SMART goals?
Yeah.
Maybe that is my SMART goal. Create a rhythm so I can get SMART goals.
Right. Yeah. And that's so healthy, even as we were talking of just rhythms of reflecting and rhythms of making these goals, even making rhythms of having rhythms.
For real, though.
I love that.
Yeah. We even talked on one episode about how intentionality takes intentionality. And so it's kind of that conversation continued. But I think a big thing, even in goal making, is having the people around you who can speak into your life and who can dream with you and make goals with you and push you to be better and hold you accountable. And I know you were even kind of talking a little bit about how your mentor helped you come up with your SMART goal. And so how do you think we can kind of be better at tying in hand, like we don't have to make these goals by ourselves. We can make these goals in the community or the context of community, mentorship, friends. Like, how do we get better at not isolating these goals? Because I'm guilty of making these goals and nobody knows about them.
Yeah.
And so if I fail at them, it's like, well.
Well, at least all three of us, for sure, though, we've set our goals now publicly.
I know. Now it's what have I done?
There you go.
Now the whole
You're
world
locked
is
in.
keeping us accountable. People are going to walk up to you in the lobby and say, so what are you learning about nutrition?
I know. What are you doing? Oh, what have I done? No, I'm going to stick to it. I'm confident. It's okay.
This is a perfect form of accountability.
Oh, wow.
You did not know what you signed up for.
I really, really didn't think this through.
Surprise.
When I think of even the term mentorship, I think even Kellie would be like, Winter, I can't believe you told people I'm your mentor. She's like, we're just friends who meet up and have coffee. But honestly, that's what a mentor does, is because they help you identify. So when I think of the rhythms, the lack of rhythms in my life, it wasn't like, I'll be honest, it was not me in a time of prayer being like, yeah, God, I need to create better rhythms. It was through coffee with Kellie and going, Winter, I think you are in need of some rhythms rather than doing so much.
Having somebody else speak that out.
Yes.
Of you.
Right.
And it wasn't like trying to tell me what to do. She didn't create the SMART goal for me. She just knows my life through relationship and spending time together. And so that's what I think a lot of times with mentorship, or whether it's friends, or maybe it's when you're at a place of work where it's someone that's over you, that can just say, hey, I see this in your life.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of helping. Here's what's missing. Here's what I think this could elevate.
Absolutely. I think so much of even where I've gotten to in this season of life has not been like me grinding and working hard. It's been the result of other people seeing things in me that I was completely blind to. And people speaking things over my life, and people that really kind of walked hand in hand with me and really saw things in me that allowed me to start making better goals and to start really, like we've been saying, be more intentional with who I want to be, who they see me as. Like, I almost want to live up to that.
Yeah. I want to be like that guy. I get that. I think a mentor, I think of like the scaffolding around a building and how they're in construction. and they're not dictating what happens in the middle of the construction, but it's that support that comes from the outside. And I think that through trust and relationship, just as you both have said, I loved what you said, because really that's the basis of it. And it can be a short-term thing. You know, I will never forget when I first started teaching, I wanted to be Debbie Piles. She was the cream de la cream. She had it going on. And I just kind of mimicked and imitated and got to know her better. And I've even, Lord forgive me, some of my mannerisms and the way I talked would even mirror that. I kind of chameleoned into her. But, honestly, encouraging. I think about Moses whenever he was so tired and granted, they weren't mentors, but they were holding his hands up so that way they could win the battle. Yeah. Encouraging. I think about you want someone to be the absolute best version of themselves. And so as a mentor, you look and you really don't see yourself as a mentor. In fact, when we first started talking about this, I thought, wow, when have I ever been a mentor? And then as we began to really think about it, I thought, oh, I guess so. Because
I was going to say, you've always been a mentor.
Well, but I never, honest to goodness, I never saw myself like that. I just thought we were working together and it's like, hey, and then of course I have something to say. But if it's going to help you or make you better or encourage you, if this is going to make you into a better person, why wouldn't I say it, Right. So anyway.
I think when it comes to helping people, I love how you said that people on the outside that are kind of helping you.
Yeah, they're not dictating it.
But there's also maybe even our own lives that you look at other people. You think, I've never been a mentor, but there's been people that you've seen hey, I've been in that season.
Yeah.
Hey, I can help you. I can be that outside wall to give you that support. Or is being the friends of being hey, let me just hold up your hands in this season.
Yes.
And hey, you are trying to achieve this goal. I'm going to help you. Yeah. I'm going to be there to support you through that.
Absolutely. And I love even touching on that too, just reflecting on what it looks like to have a mentor and what it looks like to be a mentor. And almost in the moment, you don't realize either's happening.
You really don't.
But we've even talked about on the podcast before about just having those people in life that you can be responsible for, that you can mentor them, that you can shepherd them, that you can pour into their lives. People you're responsible with who are your peers, who are holding up your hands, who are encouraging you, who are keeping you going. And then people that you're responsible, I just blanked on the third.
Did you say two?
Two, yes.
Yeah.
People, your mentors that you can go up with things with and say, hey, I really need help with this.
You're looking at them, please help me.
Right. Because I know you've been here and I am in deep waters.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And there's sometimes too, you're I'm in deep waters. I need every person. Mm-hmm. I need that person that's with me on that level, the person that's already gone before me. But also I'm looking down to the person, hey, I know you're still coming, but come on, let's go. I'm pulling you with me too. Yeah. I think a lot of Pastor Clarence's message we did during the family service.
I was there.
Back in October. I love that. I'm sure you love that too because you've known him for a long time too.
I have. I've watched Clarence.
It's so cool to see even his own journey as he shared in the message. If you haven't listened to it, go back and listen.
You really need to. I know we say that all the time, but you really, really need to. You
I know,
really
it's the
need
thing
to.
that you always say. You need to go back and listen to that. But really go back and listen.
Yep.
Just because it's such a huge part of our whole conversation that we're talking about today when it comes to the generations. Looking to the people above that have gone before you and the people that are coming, that are after you. And just being able to identify that. It's a lot of that. He talked a lot about the Paul and Timothy dynamic. And so I'd love to hear just a little bit, you personally, how you've seen that play out in your life.
Absolutely. I can remember I was in my mid-20s. And I know you're thinking, never mind. And so
I didn't think anything.
I was in my mid-20s, and I met this lady, and she terrified me. And that's hard to do, but she really did. And she was my tennis coach, and she said, I'm going to take you to, or I said, I'll see you next week. She says, yes, you will, but you're coming with me to Bible study. And all I could think of was, yes, I am. And so I said, what do I wear? And she said, you can wear anything. She was wrong. But anyway, I wore shorts. It was not a shorts place, but that I digress. And so she takes me to this Bible study, and it's mostly ladies that are probably at that time anywhere from 50s to 75, 80s. And I'm like, dear Lord, what am I doing here? And I walked in and I met my mentor. Her name is Phyllis George. And if you close your eyes, she sounds just like Dolly Parton. But I'm telling you, even now, I am so grateful because we had tennis every Tuesday, but the last Tuesday of every month for probably 20-something years. I would drive to Boonville, Arkansas. That was a long way from my house, but it was worth it because I would go. And for once, even though I was involved in the different ministries and doing different things, volunteering in my church, and I was usually the one speaking at that Bible study, I knew my job was to hush and listen. And you know what? I did. And when I hushed and I listened, even now, whenever I'm praying for somebody, I can hear some of the things that I heard from those ladies. And it wasn't just Phyllis who was our speaker, but it was all of these women and all of it. And then we had a prayer chair. So first she would speak, and then we had a prayer chair, and everybody went around the room. I'm telling you, I learned more from those little old white-haired ladies. I'm going to get in so much trouble. But I learned so much from those little ladies and what they taught me. And then afterwards we'd eat. Oh, my Lord, we'd eat. It was like 10 o'clock at night. I was still in Boonville, and I didn't care because we would eat. But when we were eating, they would ask me how my family is. They would ask me how things were going. And so not only did they take care of, this is what I want to speak like whenever I someday become a speaker. That was Phyllis. This is what I'm going to pray like. I had no idea that's what was happening, but it did. And then I heard all of this wisdom from these women who just took me under their wing because apparently I was really a mess. And you know what? They just told me, oh, don't worry about that. No, you need to worry about this. And for 20 years, I was just blessed for the last Tuesday of every month. And that's kind of my story.
That's incredible. I think when generations truly want other generations to succeed and be their best, visions get clearer, dreams get bigger.
Yeah.
God can work in incredible ways. I think there's something so beautiful about that Paul-Timothy relationship where you have older pouring into the younger kind of rejuvenizing the older, and just both being able to bring wisdom to each other and speak life into each other. There's, I don't know, something refreshing about that where it's like, man, we can really speak life into each other, hold each other accountable, hold each other to higher standards, and watch God work in incredible ways.
I think you said something earlier that you're like, you may not even know that this is happening in the midst of it until you kind of take a step back.
It's true.
And you're like, oh, wow. I think of like even my relationship with Shelly that there were so many times that it was just a natural. I just wanted to be like her.
Yeah.
She is just so wise and caring, and I just wanted to be like her, and just because she cared about me. And so it was very organic how we started meeting up, and it wasn't always consistent of every single month. It's some seasons it's longer, but consistent communication always. And something that she's always told me that matters to her, she said that she'll meet with anyone. Like, you could call her and she'd meet with you, but as long as if you're reciprocating the conversation. So there'll be times that she'll be like, hey, go listen to this message. Well, Shelly's telling me to listen to it. There's a reason I'm going to go listen to it. Yeah. She's not telling me things just to tell me things.
Right.
And I feel like when it comes to that, Paul and Timothy, that's what made them so kind of work in tandem with that. Is it was not just Paul, just this random kid. Like Timothy's going like, give me more, like tell me where to go, tell me what to do. And I feel like that's even for you. You just kept showing up.
I did. And I knew, sit and hush. And every now and then, so intimidating they would pray several times. Several people would pray for one person in the middle, and then say, they called me KP. They say, KP, you pray. And all I thought was, oh, dear God, help me pray. I mean, and here I'd been in church, well, from birth, but I learned.
So I love the idea of putting ourselves in environments and situations around other people where there's the opportunity to learn.
Absolutely. It's so funny that even your story reminds me so much of me and Pastor Clarence just in Chad's office. Like, he couldn't keep us away. Even if he didn't have any actual work for us to do, we'd just like sit in his floor and watch him work.
Just like watching him.
And it was just such a fun time. But there's so many conversations that we have now, which is so weird. And if I think about it too much, I'll choke up. So I won't. But our office that we even share now was his office that we were sitting in the floor in, and just watching him go to work, or he'd, give us this little life lesson, or be like, hey, listen to this message, or we'd go out to coffee or whatever.
Yeah.
And so that's even, again, some of those moments, it's like, we didn't dream that would be our space in the future. We were just two kids
intern kids hanging around the church.
When we just wanted to be around him, and we just wanted to take in all that it was.
Yeah.
And so I think it's so special to be able to look back and recognize the people in our lives who have been able to shape us into who we've become today. And then it's also beautiful to be at that point of life where we can look and see the people that we're shaping, the people under us. That's like, I think I might be mentoring them. But it's just incredible. And so incredible to see people take their next steps. That's even kind of our thing here at Harvest Time, just being a church of next steps. And so it's awesome to be able to be in a position to help, even through this conversation, through this podcast, like people who maybe have had trouble making goals for this year, who have been kind of stagnant in their walk, and just encouraging them with some next steps. So even kind of wrapping up the conversation a little bit, I would like to ask if there's one thing that you could tell a Timothy out there to encourage them for 2024. What would you tell them?
I think, especially since we're on the topic of mentors, my pastor growing up was Pastor Holden. And I will never forget what he said. He said, young warriors need old horses. And if you think about it, here's this warrior who has been trained, and they're prepared, and they have the energy, and they have the passion, and they're ready to go. And then you think about that old horse that doesn't get shaken very easily. He's not going to be scared by the gunfire. He's not going to be wavering. He knows the battle. He knows the battle plan. So I would say young warriors need old horses.
I love that.
Yeah.
That was really good.
I don't know if I can top that.
I know. I was like, oh no, what would I even say?
One conversation that I think of very, very, very often was a late night drive back from a church camp where it was just me and Pastor Chad in the car, and just talking about all the things, how to learn more, how to be more like Jesus, how at the time I was just like, I want to do ministry so bad. Like, I want to do what you're doing one day.
LOL.
LOL. And I'll never forget, out of that whole conversation, I don't think I remember the rest of the conversation except this one line, is he told me, keep falling more and more in love with Jesus every day. And I think about that all the time. So simple, but so profound, especially I think when you're busy doing all the things and trying to be the person for everybody. Just to have that true north, like, I just want to fall in love with Jesus more and more every day. It's been something really incredible for me. So I would tell somebody, just keep falling more in love with him every day, no matter what your season or circumstance looks like. Just keep letting yourself love him.
I love that. I think what one thing I would say to a young Timothy out there who's saying, how do I get to where I need to go? So I would say just to listen. whether that is to listen to the sages within your life, the people that have gone before you. Because I think sometimes too, even like in Clarence's message when he's talking about don't let people look down upon you because you're young, and he's like, yeah, I'm young, I can do this. Sometimes you think that like, oh, I can, I just know what I'm doing, but really, but also the rest of the verse is saying, okay, but also like look to the ones that have gone before you, help that kind of mold and make the path for you, and stop and listen to their wisdom, but also listen to like the promptings of the Holy Spirit. What is the Spirit telling you? What has God been speaking to you, and slowing down and really just being obedient? There's so many times in my walk that I'm like, man, if I was just more obedient, life would have been so much easier.
Right. To anybody listening who you are in the season of life where you are wanting to make better goals for yourself, where you're wanting to dream bigger, where you're wanting a fresh vision or a clearer vision, and you're like, what the heck is my next step? How do I get these relationships and mentorships that these people are talking about? I'd like to give you an easy next step. Is next month here at Harvest Time, we're launching small groups, and small groups are an incredible opportunity to just engage in life-changing relationships, to find your Pauls and Timothys that you are getting wisdom from, that you're imparting wisdom to, and to make these big life transitions and these decisions not alone, but in the context of community.
I love how when we were talking earlier, talking about you don't even realize it in the moment that you're being a mentor or that someone is mentoring you. And I think about that, like that truly is that life-changing relationships. Yeah. Your life is changed because you went to those Bible studies.
Oh, forever.
But also your life is changed for the women that you've led throughout your life, that you were in the trenches with, that you were saying, hey, here's what's happened to me and here's the experiences that I've had. And so I love thinking that in the scope of, okay, groups are coming. This is the next season. Yes. There's some practical next steps. Yeah. There's life change that maybe I didn't even know was there for me that I could have.
And, I'm thinking about that person that they're thinking, well, I'm such a hot mess. I'm not even to the mentor stage yet. They're thinking, I don't even need a mentor because things aren't clicking for them.
Right.
But I'm reminded of Jude, and it said, you are called. And it didn't just have specific people. You are called.
Yeah.
That means you have a purpose, and you are loved. You are loved by your God, but you're loved by your church family and those people in that small group. And then you're kept, you're safe. And so for that person that's thinking to themselves, well, I'm not ready for a mentor yet. You know what? Yes, you are. You're called. You have a purpose. Absolutely. You're loved and you're kept. Yeah. So that's a good thing to remember.
The perfect recipe to be ready for a mentor.
There you go.
Well, thank you guys so much for this conversation. It's been refreshing to me and actually exciting to me. Kellie, thank you so much for just being here and being able to impart wisdom to us. It has been truly a blessing. If you're listening and you are in the mode where you're thinking, new year, new me, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to take some next steps and make the best of 2024. Like we said, we have groups next month. Launching. That is an awesome opportunity to be a part of community, to let people build you up, encourage you, and to speak into you. We could also have baptisms that you can get signed up for. Here at Harvest Time, you can go through Grow Track. If your next step is, hey, I've been coming to church for a little bit, I'm ready to serve. I'm ready to take some next steps and just be obedient in what God is calling me to do in this season. Here at Harvest Time, we have plenty of next step options for you. If you have any questions about what any of those look like for you, as always, you can shoot us an email at moreandbetter@harvesttime.net, or you can go to our website, harvesttime.net, and at the top, there's a next steps tab that you can visit, and we will help you take your next steps and make 2024 the best year ever. We're excited for what's to come. We're excited to continue to make more and better disciples, and we'll see you guys in the next one.